Hey, what's going on, No Sense Virgin Gang? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty. A lot of interesting topics happening with a lot of new people who really weren't around too long in the Pokemon space. We've got a lot of people questioning why product is the way it is, why certain cards are sitting versus other cards. And evidently, we have a lot of things that are very reminiscent of previous times when new people showed up. I think it's fair to say, I don't think anyone's denying it anymore. We're definitely in a very 2020, 2021-esque era right this second, where people are just going nuts so crazy over some cards, trying to get all as many as they can, going to stores, hitting up as many deals as they can, employing bots, and getting as much product from stores as they can, especially on sale, to basically quadruple their money or just instantly print what they think is going to happen. In a lot of cases, isn't going to happen. It's a little bit more difficult to actually take said product and flip it for the desired amount that they want, and that's just not how some of that stuff works, especially with ETBs being on sale like they thought lately, like the Sword and Shield ones especially. That whole thing was a big goose show. But with all that stuff happening, we do have new people here that just got into Pokemon, or maybe they got into Pokemon beginning of this year, and they're just asking questions. Like, they're looking at cards like Greninja, they're looking at cards like Pikachu, and then they're looking back at previous Scarlet and Violet sets. And this is normal for people that just got here. You're trying to figure this whole place out. And I completely get it. I understand. This place is fucking confusing. This place is weird. Like, and literally what happens too is you think you understand it, you think you know what's going on, and then people then just can kind of go in on TCG Player or something like that and just kind of throw a wrench in something and just be like, hey, we're just going to pump up this card now and it's going to be like $200 randomly. Is it going to do long-term damage? I mean, it's going to do some. It's going to come back down, but for a little bit, it's going to cause some mass chaos in the Pokemon space. So then people are trying to figure that out. Look, I get it. There's a lot of stuff that happens here. For example, we have certain people questioning hits versus others and looking back at older Scarlet and Violet sets versus the new ones, and they're just fucking confused. And I completely get it. I understand. So here it is right here. Why does Scarlet and Violet base set have such low value hits? I know, right? English, the Scarlet and Violet, it's all about the money, baby. All about the cha-ching, cha-ching. Everyone's just opening up boxes, pulling Pikachus left and right, and just making $500 easy. What's going on here? You look back at older, did something happen with the older Scarlet and Violet sets? Are they toxic, or they got cooties or something? What's going on with these older sets? What's going on here? I don't know. It's crazy that Gardevoir, that's an SIR, baby. Look at that. It's so popular too. I recently got into Pokemon this year and was curious to know why the top card from Scarlet Violet base set, the Gardevoir EX, is only 28 bucks. I recently hit the Green Ninja, I think they meant Greninja, and it's exponentially higher value, yet the pull rate for Gardevoir is similar to many top SIRs. Thanks all. Now, you are correct about a lot of that stuff. The pull rate for a lot of these SIRs, considering how many SIRs are in the set versus like others, how Scarlet and Violet base set works. Yes, you're right for the most part with that. The thing is with like a lot of these cards and a lot of the stuff that's happening currently is there's previous hype still in play with this, and you're not going to know that unless you were here. For example, you're looking at Scarlet and Violet base in English. So Scarlet and Violet base in English was not hyped really that much at all. People were excited for the new era and the new set. People definitely opened it. People had fun, and people were chasing specific cards that they liked. Gardevoir was very playable. That was a very playable deck staple, and it was one that people wanted to pull for sure. It did have some value. Miriam kind of had some bleed over from the Japanese market a little bit. Miriam was still a good one, but a lot of the art rares were kind of the ones people were looking for. I remember Drowsy being a popular one, Slowpoke, Ralts. There's a few in that little mix where people really wanted to pull those cards specifically, and I don't blame them. The cards are absolutely beautiful, right? But what was happening is while the English was not hype, see, for people that weren't here, Japanese was still hype. So whenever Scarlet and Violet base came out, so this was 2 booster boxes in Japanese, one for Scarlet, one for Violet, right? So the Scarlet had the Gardevoir in it, and the Gardevoir was fairly popular in Japanese. It was like a $250 card, $280 card. People were kind of losing their mind about it, still on the Japanese hype train, huffing it, saying Japanese was superior. It's the only way to go. You need to get as much Japanese product as possible. And it still shows, because while your Gardevoir EX SIR is only 28 bucks in English, in Japanese, this is still a $75, $80 card. You can still see the bleed over from where it was still relatively hyped. And with a good, I mean, Gardevoir's a great card, right? The Miriam, we all know, this was a $900 card in Japanese in the Violet base. It was only in that one. It was $900, slowly creeped down and hovered around $600, $700 for a little bit, and has thus slowly lost value over time. But it is still sitting at $100 versus your English counterpart that's like, what, 18 bucks, 17 bucks for that Miriam, and it's the same card. It's just 2 different languages, right? The hype leftover is what's going on with that, and you can very easily see that discrepancy from English to Japanese. It wasn't really until Paldea evolved and like Paradox Rift and like all this other stuff, like when stuff started moving forward with Scarlet and Violet, people were slowly getting off the Japanese hype train because Japan was actually printing more to meet the demand for the entire world wanting Japanese cards because of the pump and all the hype, right? As soon as that happened, a lot of people kind of was like, well, there's not really any reason to open Japanese cards anymore for money like that because English cards basically have the same shit. But then what happened is people started to realize, oh, English cards can do the exact same thing Japanese cards do, and people started doing things with TCG Player. The Magic card being $500, and people weirdly paying for it at pre-release, allegedly, of course. And then certain AR cards kind of going crazy upon release, something that had never been seen before on the Japanese side, where Tyranitar, Groudon, Raichu, other cards such as like that, like where people were putting stuff out, Ghastly, some of the like really good AR cards, the IR in English, where people were just pumping these up to some crazy numbers and people were very happy for it. And then there were people like, oh, English Modern is the way to go. And that started to bleed over for a lot of other things. A lot of the Sword and Shield sets started to get some more value behind it because people are like, oh, fuck it, the Japanese thing, let's just leave that sucker behind. Let's all move to English. And that's why you're seeing this really big turnover for that stuff, because it really picked up year 2, right around the time this person in the r/Poke investing thread got into Pokemon. You've probably been around the entire time and watched the English market of this stuff be at an all-time high, watching everybody just having a grand old time with that stuff, with Twilight Masquerade being the really big one. People were like, fuck yeah, because of the Greninja that you were talking about you pulled. Before that, English was kind of like, it's cool. It's got some stuff here and there. There was still a little bit of Japanese hype. I'd say Raging Surf is kind of when it like was for the Japanese, and then English started creeping on that. Paradox Rift was a big one where people were really going in on the English side of the market and getting some stuff. The previous Paradox Pokemon that people didn't like, such as Roaring Moon and Iron Valiant and a couple of those other ones too, people were really starting to buy into them. They were really starting to go for it, and like a lot of people's like previous problems with the Scarlet and Violet era were starting to erode, and you're watching it happen real time with the Crystal Hat Pokemon. You're watching people not give a fuck anymore as long as they can pull Greninja, as long as they can pull Pikachu, and as long as they can pull themselves some Evolutions and the price is cha-ching. Nobody cares about that stuff. It's not going to matter, and you're watching in real time as stuff happens. I do think as time goes on, I think Scarlet and Violet base is going to be one of those sets that people will try to put some cards up for. Gardevoir is not historically one of those cards that do that, though. There's tons of great Gardevoir cards that currently exist across multiple generations. Some of them do have some value, but for the most part, a lot of the ones people were like betting money on going up crazy stupid, it just hasn't happened yet, man. Like, I mean, like fucking Hidden Fates, there's a shiny Gardevoir in that set that everybody was like, oh, that's going to be a great card in there. Yes, there's also a Charizard and Evolutions in that set too, but Gardevoir is a popular Pokemon. Yep, never happened. There's a couple of art rare Gardevoirs just literally floating around in the Sword and Shield era. Those ones happen. There's a fucking shiny blue Gardevoir in Paldean Fates, and it is the lowest fucking Pokemon SIR card, in English, that is in that set. Beautiful cards. Gardevoir just typically doesn't get that kind of hype. She has a lot of stigmas with her because a lot of people are fucking weird in this hobby. It's a very easy thing to meme on. I like Gardevoir a lot, and the meme's just something you kind of have to accept when you're a Gardevoir fan. You can even make fun of it to a degree and kind of fucking be like, oh yeah, Gardevoir, am I right? It's one of those things that people do weird shit with. It's the same thing with Vaporeon almost, but not quite to the level of Vaporeon. People say Vaporeon's their favorite evolution. You immediately get this eye. You're like, huh? You don't like Vaporeon, do you? You fucking weirdo. But that's a lot of what's happening with that. A lot of people are going to basically say it's like pull rates this, pull rates that. That's not really what it is. The hype was very much Japanese at the time, and the English hype was not there at the time. People were very much underplaying Scarlet and Violet base in favor of trying to run and grab some of the Japanese Violet in order to get themselves a nice Miriam card and a Wooga to try to do that. Everyone was doing it, man. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what anybody says. That didn't happen, bro. Made videos for days. Watched some people who were like trashing Japanese Pokemon cards, and we're talking about like trainers being absolute garbage, chasing that fucking Miriam, chasing the Dendra, chasing the Iono, and then as soon as like the money left, they jumped ship and they paddled right back to English. And you're gonna watch some stuff happen with that. So you're gonna watch some weird stuff happen in this hobby. New person that's here, you're gonna have some things pop up. You're not gonna really know how to explain it. You're not gonna really know how to do it. Just the more time, the more experience you have here, and the more you're collecting, the more you're fucking feeling your stuff around here. You're getting your card collection, figuring out what you like. You'll figure it out. It's weird. This place changes and people flop around kind of all over. There is overarching arcs. We're currently in a very big English arc. We were previously in a very big Japanese arc. It's yeah, who knows what's going to be next? Maybe it's going to be fucking simplified Chinese or something. Maybe I'm just going to move over to those. And you'll have like $700 cards over there. Who knows? We'll see, I guess. But yeah, that's what's going on with that. Lots of cards probably going to be moving and doing weird numbers. We're gonna have some interesting times out of it. So I got. Appreciate it, Virgin Gang. See you later. Yeah, Gardevoir, just as popular as the cards are, just not that popular in the whole English side of the market as they usually are in Japanese. It's just the way it is. I don't know what it is. They don't want to see a strong independent woman succeed, I guess. Gardevoir's just always got to fight the system, I suppose. It's one of those things. Hey, affordable Gardevoir cards though, you can't be mad about that. It's yeah, they don't really like it anyway. It's one of those things. Stay away.